If you're looking to level a monk to 100, this is how it will look like. With this vocation still being somewhat recent, it has gone through many changes and some of my previous content might feel outdated, so I'm starting again. But starting fresh on a monk, it's in my opinion going to be the hardest vocation. This is due to the monk's damage being locked behind levels through the way of a monk quest, and on top of having low skills, it will feel pretty bad. So ideally you want to have some training done on the character to get some skills going. This can be done by buying off the character bazaar, buying training weapons, or simply leaving it one day offline training. I highly recommend to do that. If you already have a high skill character, then monks are very enjoyable to play and level up. Despite what others might say, this vocation is still very strong for solo players, and this holds true for a while. Now for equipment and quests to do, you should start by completing the Targuna questlines. This will provide experience and some rewards along the way. It's recommended to pick up the task for Minotaurs with Budrik before reaching level 40. This is not a quest to do right now, but it won't be available to start after level 40. And more importantly is to do the Way of a Monk questline at the level intervals for it. This quest provides all the equipment you need as a monk as you level. For this quest at level 35, you will need access to Tirsun, so it's necessary to include the Barbarian test and first mission of the Ice Islands into your must-do quests. Also, because of a very recent update with a new feature added, there is a big influx of the basic imbuement scrolls. They should be available in the market for very cheap, and it's recommended to use them as you improve weapons and equipments. Lastly, at level 20, by getting the promotion, you will get access to the monk stances. You will have 3 to pick from: Justice, Sustain, and Harmony. Almost all of the recordings in here were done on Justice, and a simple way to generalize my personal recommendation on what to pick is if you're using monk spells regardless of your fist fighting, then Justice, especially when playing like a knight. If you're hunting with runes, then Sustain, and Harmony becomes viable from level 60 forwards, but is situational if you have good skills that could headshot creatures or hunting high density spawns. Now, once you start leveling, the monk is played pretty much like a knight. Your only attacks will be melee, and you will have 2 spells, a builder and spender. The way the monk works is that you build up charges that then gets released with a spender spell. In this case, it's simply to cast your Exorian Fear up until you have 5 charges and then use the Tiger Clash. It's a simple rotation, and your easiest way of leveling will be through hunting spawns where you can use stealth rings and hunt safely, such as Tarantulas, Cyclops, Stone Refiners, etc. However, Targuna offers good spawns for a monk, because these creatures are even more recent than monks, and their stats are much better than alternatives at this level range, with their armor and HP stats being quite low, so weak characters can hunt them easily and get plenty of loot to sustain their hunts and even get extras. With that money is when you can buy stealth rings and then go for a little bit higher experience. It's recommended to do this up until level 30. After that point comes a complete change on playstyle, because you get the option of playing like a mage instead of a knight. Since you can use all the AoE runes, you can start hunting like that. This is recommended if your goal is leveling faster, especially because even with low magic level is possible. The best places for doing this will be the Forgotten Tomb in Nedron, the Upper Spike, Mariana Cave, and Corims. At level 35, you get a new spell, the Flurry of Blows. If you have a high character, then it's possible to start mixing up runes and spells. Additionally, it opens up the possibility of going back to hunting like a knight in close range. For this, the best options will be dragons, zombies in Old Fortress, and zombies in Treasure Island. But even with a high skill character, the experience I was making on both of these options was still lower than hunting with runes, and slightly lower than hunting with runes and adding the Flurry of Blows. This spell is not great, and its damage output is quite low even with good skills, so it's only viable to mix it up with good skills. But if you keep it simple, hunting with only AoE runes is still going to be the best experience possible. At level 50 with access to better potions, you can start adding better spawns, like going harder on the Forgotten Tomb or Corims. These spawns will offer little risk at this point, while offering good experience for weak characters. If you can do a more dangerous hunt, then consider trying out the Vampire Crypt of Edrem. With good skills and the mix of runes and spells, you can also add the Mother of Scarab's Cave, the Old Fortress Zombies, adding a few pulls of the Heroes and Vision Squires, and a more unusual alternatives like a Remoa if you do the quest access, and Dragonlords in Daracha if you want a slower type of hunting but just a challenging. All of these options are great spawns for most vocations. and it's possible to find 10 contested in your server, but because they are good, it's best to stick with 10 until level 70. Then you can unlock the monk's main spell, the Chain Penance. But before that, you get the Sweeping Takedown at 60, which is the main spender spell for monks. This spell will be useful if you're doing the hunting style of mixing runes and the flurry of blows. If you kept on using only runes, then it's not gonna do anything yet. Now that you have the spells needed, you can start playing like a real monk. The rotation of spells will be Chain's Penance into Flurry of Blows. Do this up until you get the full stacks of charges and then use the spenders of Unsweeping Takedown, then repeat. You can still carry a few AoE runes with you, but mostly for creatures that run away in low HP or in very situational cases where creatures are too far from your spell's range. Spawns wise, you still have the same options. Mother of Skyrax, for example, can get up to 700k raw with the full rotation. The Vampire Crit falls off due to potential overkilling, but it still sits at around the 600. The Old Fortress will be over 700, and you will feel more comfortable now. But I would avoid doing the hard pulls that have Vile Grandmasters and Renegade Knights up until level 80. And some new additions to the mix that I recommend is the Quarascal's Cave in Port Hope, and a very underrated alternative is the Middle Spike. This one can be hunted in multiple ways, and I have a video for it. This one will have to be remade soon, because now I was doing much better experience, but it shows what you need to know. On all of these spawns, you can get around the 700k range if you're playing good with a decent character. And if they feel too hard at level 70, simply wait 10 more levels to unlock greater potions, and then you can try again. With the better potions, you can add 2 new spawns to the mix, the Bog Raiders in Yalahar and the last floor of the Vampire Crypt of Edron. Both of these options have similar XP in the range of 600 to 700k. And for the good monk players, you can do really good numbers closing in the 1kk raw XP at the Demon War Crypt of Edron, Nightmare Cave of Kralos, and the Old Fortress. You need to be good at playing your monk and also have a decent fist fighting. At level 90, you will get a new spell, the Greater Flurry of Blows. This doesn't change the spawns you can hunt, it simply gets added into the rotation for better damage. But since this spell is still an improvement, if you were struggling with any of the previous hunts, then consider trying them again after 90. Keep in mind this spell has a long cooldown but gets reduced after using a spender spell, so you're able to always cast it once in the rotation, going something like Chain, Greater Flurry, Chain, Normal Flurry, then Chain into Sweeping Takedown. If you're hunting with the Harmony stance, then it's going to be one less attack, and no matter what, you should always be aiming to only use one Flurry of Blows. This spell is going to be your weakest and worst option, so try to cast it only once per rotation. A pro tip if you want to optimize your hunt is to cast a Flurry of Blows in between running to pulls. Regardless if you don't have a creature, simply doing it to gain more stacks for your spender. Lastly, from level 50 onwards, you can start putting points into the Wheel of Destiny. For almost all vocations, I recommend to put points into the capacity slot to carry more supplies to your hunts, but if you're feeling a risk in your hunts, then the extra HP is better. And that's all I got for this video. Because I tried to cover both beginners and advanced players in one, it ended up being this format. Moving forward, it will be simpler best spawn options for the level range, which I already made in the past with my first monk. But due to all the nerfs the vocation got, I am remaking these videos with a new monk, albeit with higher skills. But if you're still here, a quick spoiler is that not much changed from these hunts to now. With that said, thank you for watching and until the next one.